Hey Cowboys Nation, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a hot topic surrounding our team and its rocky start to the season. But before we get into it, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for more Cowboys content. Your support means the world as we continue covering our team's journey to greatness. Let's dive in. The Cowboys have had a pretty shaky start to the season, sitting at 3-3, and there's been no shortage of blame to go around. Jerry Jones, our team's owner and general manager, has been in the hot seat for not doing enough during the offseason to improve the roster. However, during ESPN's Get Up on Friday, former NFL linebacker Bart Scott raised a new point of criticism that has fans talking. Is Dak Prescott's contract responsible for the Cowboys' struggles this season? Let's break it down. Bart Scott pointed to Dak Prescott's hefty 4-year contract, reportedly worth $240 million, with $231 million guaranteed, as part of the reason why the Cowboys haven't been able to bolster both sides of the ball as much as they should have. Scott argues that when your QB takes up that much of the salary cap, it leaves less money to go around for key role players. And let's be honest, when you're paying your quarterback like an elite franchise player, you expect elite franchise play in return. So far this season, that hasn't been the case. According to ESPN stats, Dak ranks 26th in QBR with an adjusted score of 48.5 and 25th in passer rating at 85.5. He's tied for the second most interceptions in the league with 6 and has thrown just 8 touchdown passes in 6 games. These numbers are well below what we expect from a QB being paid at Dak's level, and they're not doing the Cowboys any favors as they try to compete in a tough NFC. Scott didn't stop there. He also made a comparison to Patrick Mahomes, the Kansas City Chiefs superstar QB. Now, we all know Mahomes is one of the best to ever play the position, but Scott's point was about how Mahomes structured his contract to give the Chiefs flexibility to keep other key players, like defensive tackle Chris Jones, around. Mahomes, even with his massive contract, left some room for the Chiefs to maintain depth across the roster. Scott suggests that Dak's contract may not allow the Cowboys to do the same, which becomes a huge issue when injuries hit. And speaking of injuries, the Cowboys have been hit hard. Key players like Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence have missed time this season, and while they're big names, it's the drop-off in talent from starters to backups that Scott argues is the real problem. If any of these key guys get hurt, their backups are so far behind that you can't function, Scott explained. And that's something we've seen on the field when the defense or offense starts to stumble. There's not enough depth to pick up the slack. Even Mike McCarthy, our head coach, has recognized that bringing back injured players won't magically fix everything. After the loss in Week 6, McCarthy admitted that while it's great to have these stars back, the team's issues run deeper. It's not just about talent returning to the lineup, but how well the team is playing together. And right now, that's not happening as smoothly as it should. The Cowboys were expected to be a more well-rounded team this season, with both the offense and defense working in sync. Instead, we've seen an uneven performance on both sides of the ball, and the lack of reinforcements, especially after losing key players, has been glaring. So, what's next for the Cowboys? There's been talk about adding pieces to give the offense some much-needed juice, especially in the run game. Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk brought up an interesting idea. What if the Cowboys made a move for Alvin Kamara, the New Orleans Saints star running back? Kamara has a contract worth $75 million over 5 years, but with the Saints looking at their own future, there's a chance they could be willing to trade him. Kamara would bring an explosive playmaker to the Cowboys' backfield, something that's been missing so far this season. We know that Dallas has struggled to get the ground game going, and bringing in Kamara could give this offense a serious boost. He's a proven playmaker, and adding him to the mix would force defenses to respect the run in a way they haven't had to this season. This, in turn, would open up more opportunities for Dak and the passing game. Florio suggested that multiple teams, like the Kansas City Chiefs, Buffalo Bills, and Cincinnati Bengals, might be interested in Kamara. However, Dallas should definitely be in that conversation. If Jerry Jones is serious about making a playoff push this season, Kamara might be the key. Let's get back to the heart of the issue, Dak Prescott. As Cowboys fans, we've seen flashes of greatness from Dak over the years, but consistency has been a problem, especially when the stakes are high. Yes, injuries have hurt the offense, and yes, the offensive line hasn't always given him the time he needs, but at the end of the day, the quarterback is the one who shoulders the blame when things aren't working. Bart Scott's point about Dak's contract handcuffing the team's ability to build depth is valid, but it's also true that Dak has not played up to the level we expect from a quarterback in his position. The interceptions, the missed throws, and the overall lack of offensive rhythm are concerns that can't be ignored. However, it's also worth considering that the problems go beyond just Dak. The play calling has been suspect at times, and the team's approach on both sides of the ball hasn't been aggressive enough. The upcoming bye week is a chance to reset, and with big matchups ahead, like the San Francisco 49ers on October 27th, we'll get a better sense of where this team is headed. It's been a rough couple of weeks for the Cowboys and for all of us fans. Coming off one of the most brutal losses in franchise history, the Cowboys now head into the bye week with plenty to reflect on. There's no denying it. The loss to the Detroit Lions stings. But the important question now is, where do we go from here? Well, if you ask head coach Mike McCarthy, the answer is clear. It's time to move forward, regroup, and fix the issues that led to this embarrassing defeat. Despite all the frustration, McCarthy remains confident that this team has what it takes to turn the season around. And honestly, we should believe that too. Let's be real for a second. This week has been tough for all of us. That loss against the Lions wasn't just any defeat. It was a crushing, humbling moment for the franchise. The emotions from the fan base have ranged from anger to disappointment, and it's understandable. We all had high hopes for this season, and sitting at 3-3 is not what we expected. But here's the thing. Every team goes through tough stretches. We've seen it before, and we'll see it again. The key is how a team bounces back after a setback. And that's exactly where McCarthy's focus is right now. He's not dwelling on what went wrong. He's focused on fixing it. McCarthy's message to the team: time to reflect and refocus. When McCarthy spoke to the media earlier this week, he acknowledged how bad things have looked, but his message was clear. This is not the end of the road. In fact, he sees this as an opportunity for the Cowboys to reflect, reset, and come out stronger after the bye week. He even gave the players some homework, asking them to look in the mirror and think about what they can do better. It's about filling in the gaps and taking accountability for the mistakes that led to the team's struggles. McCarthy believes that the team's poor performance against the Lions wasn't just about talent or strategy. It was about focus. He questioned whether the team came into the game with the right mindset, especially after a solid win in tough conditions the week before against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think when you get a chance to step back and really look at everything, it's important for all of us to reflect, McCarthy said. I gave the team a series of questions today, things to think about, making sure they're looking in the mirror and filling those gaps. He's asking the team to take responsibility, to self-assess, and to come out of this bye week sharper and more focused than ever. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Are the playoffs still a possibility for the Cowboys? Absolutely. Despite the rocky start, sitting at 3-3 is far from a death sentence for this season. There's plenty of football left to play, and if McCarthy can get this team back on track, there's no reason why a playoff push can't happen. The key moving forward is consistency. We've seen flashes of brilliance from this team, but putting together two solid performances back-to-back has been a challenge. The offense, led by Dak Prescott, needs to find its rhythm, and the defense has to step up and make the stops when it matters most. McCarthy knows the importance of the next few games. Coming out of the bye week, the Cowboys will face some tough opponents, including the San Francisco 49ers. These games will be crucial for building momentum, and McCarthy is making sure that his players know what's at stake. This isn't about one bad loss, McCarthy said. It's about how we respond. And I believe in this team's ability to respond. So, what do the Cowboys need to do to turn this season around? Well, here are a few key areas where McCarthy and his staff will need to focus during the bye week. improving offensive consistency. Dak Prescott and the offense have been up and down all season. One week, they're lighting up the scoreboard, and the next, they're struggling to move the chains. McCarthy will need to work with offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer to develop a game plan that plays to Dak's strengths and gets our playmakers, like CeeDee Lamb and Tony Pollard, more involved. Defensive adjustments. The Cowboys' defense has had its moments, but the lack of consistency has been an issue. Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence need help up front, and the secondary has to tighten up. With some key players returning from injury, McCarthy hopes to shore up a defense that's been giving up too many big plays. Staying healthy. Injuries have plagued this team all season, but the bye week is a chance for key players to heal up. Getting guys like Parsons, Lawrence, and others back at full strength will be huge for the Cowboys as they push for a playoff spot. Focus and execution. As McCarthy mentioned, the mental aspect of the game has been lacking. The Cowboys need to come out of this bye week with a renewed sense of focus. The talent is there. It's all about execution and playing with the right mindset. All right, Cowboys Nation, now it's your turn. What do you think about Bart Scott's take? Is Daks Contract really holding the team back, or is the blame being unfairly placed on our QB? And what about the idea of trading for a star like Alvin Kamara? Would you pull the trigger if you were Jerry Jones? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation going. Do you think this team can turn things around, or is it time to start thinking about major changes? And as always, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any updates on your Dallas Cowboys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video. Let's hope for a strong finish to the season, Cowboys Nation.